What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Leave It to the Judges MMA show. I'm here with the boys as always, Nick and Xavier. How we doing, boys?
Man, fucking fantastic. Fight week, man. I can't think of a better holiday.
Sir,
Doing good, man. Doing good. Shout out Chicago Bears, about to be first place in the NFC North in about 2 weeks,
let's go.
3 weeks.
Caleb Nation, maybe. Caleb Nation.
Bears Nation. But guys, anyways, it is a very special fight week. UFC 308, arguably the most anticipated card of the year, arguably the most anticipated main event of the year. Holloway, former 145 champ, current lightweight and featherweight contender, taking on 15-0 Ilya Taporia. It's gonna be a banger. I feel like the MMA community is very split on who they think is gonna take the belt home. Guys, what are your overall thoughts on this fight?
I absolutely love it. We got Ilya, who just sparked Volk, longtime champ Volk, dominant champ Volk. But there was a little bit of controversy around it with how he had taken the head kick KO shortly before. So I feel like there's a little bit of a stain on Ilya's title win, or like a little bit of an asterisk that like MMA fans have. And then you have Max Holloway, who's never even technically been dropped, even though honestly I saw Gaethje drop him one time on the real quick, he popped back up, but they didn't count it. But we saw it live. But Iron Chin, Max Holloway, fast hands, quote unquote best boxer in the UFC, volume guy. So I feel like the matchup on paper is really interesting. BMF, all of that. Legends of the sport, future Hall of Famer, and arguably featherweight GOAT Max Holloway. I feel like if he were to beat Ilya here, he would in my mind at least, usurp Volk again and take the crown back that was once his. So big matchup, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, this is just a great fight overall. I think stylistically on the feet, it should be fireworks. Both guys love going forward throughout the whole fight. I think boxing wise, Max has the slight advantage, but very slight. I do rate Ilia Topuria a lot. I think he's a great fighter. My question to him is he gonna look for the KO shot the whole fight? If that's the case, I think Max can outpace him, just out volume punch him all day. Uh, if he gives Max too much time to get ahead, I think he just loses a decision throughout the fight. But if he stays active, kind of like in the Josh Emmett fight, I think it could be very close. I don't know if he could KO Max. If he can, he damn near might be the GOAT soon, let me tell you. Uh, love this fight though. I think it can kind of go either way, but I got a favor blessed all day.
Yeah, this fight. Well, do you guys? How much of this fight do you think grappling will take place? Ilya Taporia is a black belt. He has submissions on his record. He's a good wrestler, but like you said, Clark, everyone says it's going to be a stand up war all 5 rounds. How much do you guys think grappling, maybe from either side, is going to take part?
For me personally, I think that grappling, if he can implement it, will be a lot really beneficial to Ilya. Um, his jujitsu is pretty legit, and while I mean, I'm sure Max is like made a lot of strides down there on the ground, and I'm sure like we've seen like in scrambles and shit, he's competent real quick. But Max Holloway is a very hard guy to take down, and Ilya is not known for like wrestle fucking people necessarily. That's not really how he gets his grappling going. It really usually comes off the hands more so than just straight like I'm just gonna shoot a double leg, press you against the cage, and like just grind you to the ground. That's not really what he does too heavily. So I would think that the only way Ilya can get this fight to the ground consistently is if he like catches Max like in for like blast doubles or like unexpected like trips or something like that. I don't think he's just gonna straight up wrestle Holloway to the ground consistently. And I think that if you were to try, that might be a pretty bad use of his energy and his gas tank. I think that, like Clark said, if Holloway gets ahead in this fight, Ilya might be in trouble just because um I think that he will start to double down on like trying to find the KO shot as opposed to just fighting. Which we all know Holloway's just gonna fight and let the KO shot find itself more so. And I think that fighting that I need to get him. I'm fighting for a finish style is gonna gas Taporia faster. And we know that Max has a borderline endless gas that he will keep punching for 25 minutes. So, yeah, real interesting here.
Definitely. Um, yeah, like Ilya Taporia probably is going to be the only one to grapple. I would like to see from Max Holloway's side, and I feel like he's been doing this a lot recently in his fights. Just kicks in general, whether that be to the head, body, legs. We've seen Taporia been rocked and dropped 2 times by a right head or a left head kick by Jai Herbert and another guy, and we saw what Max was able to do with kicks in his last fight against Gaethje. So I think each of them have an X factor. It'd be the kicks with Holloway, the wrestling with Taporia. But the big question is, guys, everyone's been asking, can Ilya be the one to knock Holloway out? How serious is Ilya's power here compared to maybe past guys Max has fought?
I mean, I'm gonna say it's up there naturally, but at the same time, Max is like we know that he has a fucking chin, man. He's fought damn near everybody for like generations at this point. I would say Holloway. I mean, I would say Volk hits pretty hard. Um, Cater hits pretty hard, even though like we saw what the fuck he did to Cater. He didn't
And the
really.
yeah,
I mean, a lot of these guys hit really hard. A lot of these guys have a lot of KOs on their record, and especially coming off Gaethje at 55, where on paper he's undersized. Even I think having after having dealing with Gaethje, like I feel like the Topuria power is not too much like uh too much stronger than Gaethje's.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like overall, like Taporia is probably one of the more powerful fighters he's fought. But like he just fought Gaethje at lightweight, who probably has more power for sure. Handled it well. He's fought the who's who in the division. You know, Taporia just became champ like a few months ago. I just let's see, man. You're gonna have to prove it out there to me.
okay. And another thing I see a lot of people talking about is, Max did look amazing at lightweight, but this is pretty recent after his fight at lightweight, so he has to cut back down to 145. In his last couple fights against like Yair and Arnold Allen, he did get hit a lot. It is featherweight, I get it. He did win those fights nonetheless, but are you guys worried at all about maybe the difference between 155 and 145 pound Max?
I think that um I think that the fact that he's still 20, I mean, he's still only 33, I think, max 32, 33. So, I mean, while he's getting to that point where I do believe that um fighting at 155 is probably a lot healthier for him, weight cut wise. I mean, that's not super old in MMA years. Even though he's been through like, a hell of a career, a lot of wars and shit, but just in terms of his age, I'm sure he can still probably make 145 fine. It wasn't too long ago that he went up and fought Dustin Poirier a couple years ago, and we were like, wow, he's very undersized at 155. So it's like, I don't think that he's ever been like weight cutting zombie kind of a fighter for the most part. Most of his career, he's a pretty slender guy. But yeah, I do think that it might impact his chin a little bit, but I still think that he should have enough energy even at 145 to put out the necessary output to just kind of slip and move. It's not like Max like is the type to just trade. Like even though he's known for those like point to the ground moments, most of those are already when he's been like outboxing his opponent for about 5 rounds at that point. He's way less hittable than like people don't hit Max clean a lot is my point. So I think that that's like a factor.
Yeah, I'm not really concerned with him going down 10 pounds at all. Maybe except like power. a little bit, but besides that, he's been at 45 for years. He'll get down to the weight fine. I think he'll hoop.
Okay. Now, I get Ilya being the favorite, but like the odds are kind of ridiculous, at least on DraftKings. What do you guys think? Why are the odds like that, man? Why are the odds so in favor of Ilya winning this fight?
I mean, if you ask me, it's just kind of just the fact that Ilya's undefeated. I mean, it's kind of hard sometimes for people to imagine a fighter that you once you've seen a fighter lose, it's easier to imagine them losing in other ways, as opposed to like Ilya still has that undefeated like 15-0 aura of invincibility kind of thing going for him. And I think that that carries a lot of weight with the fans. That zero carries a lot of weight with the fans, especially like people who are betting. Not everyone who bets is like really informed and does their proper research to know what they're really getting into, or like even watches the sport consistently. It might just be like, oh, like I've done it in other sports, quite frankly. Like, oh man, this tennis player is like they haven't lost all year, and this tennis player is like 8-3. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go with the undefeated one, and then like boom, upset happens, because I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Same thing applies with betting. I feel like.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. I would also say like the fact Taporia did knock out Volk and Max has lost him 3 times
Yeah.
probably is also weighing into those odds for sure. But definitely the undefeated stuff is like huge because my boy Rachmanov gonna be a minus 200 favorite against Bilal.
All right, guys. Last thing on this fight, I want you guys to break down how you see the fight going Saturday and who you have as your ultimate winner. Clark, why don't we start with you?
Hmm.
How do you think this fight's gonna go, play out?
I think it's gonna be on the feet the whole time from moment from round 1 to 5. I think it's gonna be a good war, a good scrap. I could see Taporia shooting some takedowns at times, but I expect this to be on the feet for like most of the whole fight. And I think Holloway takes over in this fight, gets his striking going, creativity, get him in a flow. And I think he just outpoints Taporia, to be honest. Maybe he knocks him out late, but yeah, that's how I see it.
Okay.
No
What about you,
fact.
Xavier?
Similar to Nick, man. I can see Ilya pressing a lot early. I think he's gonna have a lot more success earlier than later in the fight when he's fresh. I can see him maybe. I can see Max for the most part uh like out cardioing him, like putting out more output in the early rounds, but then like Volk maybe I mean not Volk. Um Ilya maybe controlling the cage more so with his like with the threat of the power shot, Max starting like moving around more so. Um Ilya kind of like trying to snipe, maybe catching him a few times early. But I think that as the fight goes on, those 50-50 kind of rounds by like round three are gonna start turning into Max Holloway rounds. They might split the first two, Ilya winning one, or Holloway winning one, Ilya winning two. I think they split the first two, but then Max takes over to win at least two of the last three rounds.
Yeah, this fight is super hard to predict. I do think no matter what, Ilya is going to come on strong first. He's going to be kind of the the aggressor at first, hitting the bigger shots. But yeah, I think we'll win the first and second round probably. Probably even hurt Holloway at times. I could see him grappling a little. But I do see Max coming on late. I just don't know if he'll bank enough rounds. Oh, this is so tough. I, Ilya Taporia overswings on a lot of his shots. We've seen Max go five so many times. I'm going to lean Ilya Taporia winning a razor thin decision here. I'm going to go against the grain. I'd love for Max to win, but in terms of
He's on your
predictions, I'm rocking with Ilya.
You better. He's on your team, man.
It's true. But anyways, guys, any final notes on this banger of a main event before we move on to the co?
I was just thinking of like the only time I can think about I can only the only time I remember Ilya going a hard five was against like Josh Emmett,
Yeah.
and I think that he was in so much control for like large stretches of that fight where he had Emmett on the back foot, and I think it's a lot easier to fight like that. And even then, he wasn't putting out the most output. So I just don't think that he was kind of just like stalking Emmett around the cage and like hitting him with power shots, bullying him a little bit. But I just don't see him doing that to Max. I just think that Max throws so much more that like getting hit even by like little shots is kind of fatiguing, I feel like.
It's just Max does historically struggle with shorter fighters than him. Um, and I know this is MMA math, but I just can't stop thinking about it. Alex beat him in 3 fights. Ilya knocked him out in 2 rounds, basically.
He
I
beat
know it's
him
MMA math.
he beat him in 2 fights and we saw it live the second one. Like
That is true, actually. No, that is true.
we all know
But
what the fuck happened that second.
technically, though.
But I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
And another thing, this does not relate to the X's and O's, but man, just the way Ilya is talking and carrying himself, there's just something about it. It just seems like he's going to win this fight. Max kind of already had his time in the sunlight, and Ilya just seems like the next, like one of the next big stars of the lower weight classes. Clark, do you have any final notes on this one?
My only thing would be, does he beat Gaethje Ed?
Ilya, I don't know. I really don't know. At 155, I don't know. Be very close.
All right. That's all. That's all.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, guys, let's move on to the co-main though. We got Hamzat Chimaev versus Robert Whitaker. Whitaker is a plus 200 underdog versus minus 245 for Hamzat. It's been a very long time since Hamzat has been in the octagon. I don't have the exact date, but it was against Kamaru Usman. He got the decision. Whitaker and Hamzat were supposed to fight earlier this year, but Iskarov stepped in and Whitaker knocked him out. How we measuring this co-main, boys? What do you feel about this?
You can start us off, Clark.
This is a great co-main. Especially it being 5 rounds. I didn't even know that. I thought it was 3 rounds, but it's great that it's five. Uh, Definitely gonna be interesting to see if we get into those rounds even. Um, because I think Hamzat's definitely a gas merchant.
A little bit.
And if we enter those rounds, let's see how the cardio looks. Maybe he's improved it. Crazier things have happened, but the way I see the fight going overall, I just don't think Whitaker can grapple with this man. I think once he gets taken down, I think he could find the sub on him. Like not easily, but within a round, like near the end. So I got Hamza, but definitely a tough one. I could kind of see it going to Whitaker if it gets past like round two, but it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Yeah, yeah, this is a really tough one. I think it's kind of you noted on this, Clark. It's literally if Hamzat wins, it'll be early. If Whitaker wins, it's going to go late. I originally had Hamzat winning by knockout in the first 2 rounds. I'm going to switch my pick. I have Robert Whitaker taking this fight. I think Whitaker is going to face a lot of adversity in the first 2 rounds. He's going to be taken down. He's going to be stung. He's going to be rocked. But man, once it gets out of round two, Whitaker is going to be in a flow state. And Hamzat, we all know how he's looked against top level competition, against Gilbert Burns, against Usman. He looks great early, kind of fades late, and in a 5 round fight against Whitaker, it's not going to be good. So I think Whitaker is going to eke out either a very late TKO or a decision. No, I'm going to say decision. Robert Whitaker by decision. Final prediction.
Did I have to be the tiebreaker here?
You do.
Um, both of you guys' arguments are weighing heavily on me here. And honestly, Ed, I'm gonna pick against my better judgment here because I think that what you said about Whitaker is kind of like what my mind tells me how I see the fight playing out. But then there is a part of me that like hasn't that can't get the fact that like Whitaker has been stung in multiple fights recently. Chimaev does have crazy pressure in the first round, and I think that if you could grapple fuck Kamaru Usman the way he did in round one of that fight, even though like of course like it's different circumstances and all of that, but I do consider Kamaru Usman a significantly better grappler than Whitaker, or like wrestler at least. And I can't get the way that Chimaev was able to ragdoll Usman and get to whatever position he basically wanted on him round one when he was fresh. Um, so I'm gonna take Hamzat here. I think that he can either do enough in the first 2 or 3 rounds to like win on a decision and then maybe like grit his way through one round where he's huffing and puffing. But the one thing that we've seen, like he kind of has that DDP kind of style where like even when he's gritting and huffing and puffing in there, we're like always gassing out. Like he's never stopped throwing. I've never seen him stop throwing ever. Like he's always throwing with power. It may not be round one power, but it's enough power to keep Whitaker's respect and maybe um let him garner some control time or some cage control, some push him against the cage control for like certain stints when he is a little more gassed. I just kind of see him being able to like out physicality Whitaker slightly enough to win a razor thin decision. So I'm gonna take Hamzat. Official prediction, second or third round sub. But if he doesn't find that, then I think that it'll be a 1 round decision.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just against he got dropped against Burns and like really struggled to take him down at times. He did take Usman down a lot more, but like I don't know, man. And Whitaker looked nasty in his last fight, and also just the inconsistency of Hamza and like his health. It's not his fault. The dude just like he gets sick, his immune system. I'm not blaming that on him, but like he had to pull out of their last fight. Hasn't fought in forever. Apparently, he was having a lot of like visa issues and getting into the country, stuff like that. He's a family man now. I just feel like this is. It just feels like a different Hamza when you watch interviews and all that. I know that means nothing, but how do you guys feel about the inactivity and inconsistency of Hamza's schedule,
I feel
and
like
if that'll play a factor?
I think it will play a factor here. But I think that we haven't seen him in a long time, and like I don't think that he's the kind of fighter that would be lazy because he hasn't achieved his goals yet. Unlike a Connor layoff or one of these layoffs where it's because the champion is already the champion and they have earned that rest necessarily, this has been more of a injury situation or a sickness situation. So I think that he's still as hungry as ever. And there's something to be said about like the hunger of a rising challenger, man. That shit plays a factor. We know that these Daggy boys don't fuck around in the training room. And so I think that even while he's been away, I imagine he has been sharpening his skills and getting better. I don't think he's one of those guys that um I know ring rust is a thing and I do believe in it, but I don't think that he's one of those guys that has been getting out of shape and like lazy in his time off. I think that he's been training hard. So I'm just gonna go out on a whim and say that he's probably even a little stronger the older he's gotten. So I don't know. I think he's gonna come back better than ever.
Yeah, I mean, I think the inactivity is, yeah, I think it's fine. I think just natural talent will carry through with that. And I think him having the motivation to stay undefeated, get the title shot, go for his goal, I think is just going to push him through. So I don't really think the inactivity will matter.
Okay. Now, if Hamza wins this, he's for sure getting a title shot. If Whitaker wins it, he'll probably get a title shot also. Do you guys think both of them are locked to get a title shot, whoever wins?
Yeah, I think they'll give it to Strickland and then winner of this fight after that.
Yeah, that
I
seems
would
about right.
I would say at worst, um, yeah, I mean Whitaker, I feel like he has earned it again, right? Like
He was won like what, three straight?
he won two straight like since the DDP loss. But before that, he was doing his thing, man. He was Whitakering, only losing to Adesanya. And now he's lost to DDP. So I mean,
My man.
I mean, if they're not gonna, yeah, I feel like the winner of this fight has to get the title shot next. If not, at worst, I can see them pitting Whitaker versus Strickland to see like if he beats Strickland, then he can get the title shot. But I don't think that that should be necessary, honestly.
Yeah. Who has more to lose in this fight?
I think Hamzat. I think Hamzat, just because, like I said about that aura of invincibility. Um, if you want to talk about like title aspirations, I think that Hamzat will have will have more chances down the line at this stage in their careers to actually get a title shot, make a title push. I feel like he can take a loss here and like it wouldn't damage his future title challenger hopes too much. But I think that in terms of the way that they're viewed by the MMA public, I think that Whitaker can absorb a loss, and I feel like he's already earned our respect in so many ways, whereas Hamza is still like fighting allegations. So I would say Hamza has a little more to lose here.
Okay. Any final notes on this one, guys?
No, good luck to him, man. Fucking, this might be the fight I'm like, yeah, I mean, I would say second. I would say second, but like, this is I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Can't believe like it's actually happening. It's been scheduled a couple times.
Yeah, these two fights are carrying the car, let me tell you.
All right, guys, let's move on to the featured fight of this card, which I feel like is very important. It's going to be a cool fight. It's just kind of going under the radar. We got Rakic versus Ankalaev. Now, I know a lot of people are thinking like, Ankalaev should have been in the last title fight anyways. Why is he fighting Rakic? But it is what it is. This fight should be sick. I guess it has potential to be boring, but I am very excited. Anytime Magomed Ankalaev fights, arguably the rightful champ. How do you guys see this one going? And what are your thoughts on this thing being even like this being a fight in general for the division?
This is a three-rounder, correct?
Yes.
I mean, in terms of my thoughts on the fight itself are positive, but my thoughts on like why, like the fact that it's happening in general are like I don't understand it. I don't understand why you would put Ankalaev through more pain on his way to a title shot. I feel like everyone knows that he's the rightful title challenger, at least at bare minimum, if not the rightful champ in my mind. Not to say Pereira wouldn't have beat him, but like we don't know because they won't fucking fight. And I feel like had he been the champ that he deserved to be after beating Jan, then that fight would have happened a long time ago. But either way, we have now he has Rockets in his way. We know he struggled with the leg kicks before Ankalaev, and we know that Rockets is a leg kick merchant. But we also know that Rockets kind of gasses a little bit, and I think that Ankalaev should be if he doesn't get leg kicked too bad in the first like round or two, I think he should be able to get Rockets to the ground at some point, and find a finish, or at least control him and beat on him for like two rounds of the three. So I'm gonna take Ankalaev here. I'm gonna guess by decision 2-1. But I mean, I could see him finding a finish if he can go to the ground.
Yeah, I really feel like this is a great fight, by the way. I think overall both of their skills are top five in the division, no doubt. I think stylistically, Rakic can defensive wrestle a little bit, but I think Ankalaev has a huge edge in that area and not on the ground as well. I think it's a lot closer on the feet. I think Rakic might have a slight edge with the good old leg kicks, very fast with them, good high kicks as well. Boxing probably give the edge to Ankalaev, pretty powerful, nice one too. Uh, should be a good fight. I think Ankalaev though probably wins the decision. Maybe he can knock him out, especially after the last fight. Where's Rakic's chin at right now? But either way, I think this will be a great one. Uh, Another good one on this card. But I'd have to favor Ankalaev and should be getting the next title shot. He already called him for Bahia.
Yeah. It's destiny, man. Uncle Ive's gonna knock Rakic out, I think. Um, Rakic, he looked really good in his last fight against Yuri.
You can't not. I'm good.
No, Rakic is getting knocked out, man. Uncle Ive, I think he's just too good. It is destiny for him to fight Pereira. Like I said, Rakic was looking great against Yuri on the feet against him until he kind of got caught. And like we all know, Yuri, he has power. He's very reckless, but like Uncle Ive's power is clearly on a different level, and I think he's a much more accurate striker than Yuri. Um, and yeah, I think he's a better grappler. I could see the only way Rakic wins is eking out a decision just through picking him apart, but like I just don't think Rakic has good enough defense. And I got Uncle Ive here, man.
No, I feel that. I really want to see Ankalaev use his wrestling because it would make me a lot more confident that he would use it against Pereira. And I feel like that goes a long way in terms of my picking that fight. Because if I know he's gonna act, I would love to see him just come in here with a good old daggy plan here. Because Rocket's in his own right a dangerous kickboxer, so it's like use this as a practice round of grapple fucking one of these guys, and then I would feel a lot better picking him against Pereira. But if he comes in here, gets his legs chewed up, maybe then like struggles to get a takedown in the third or second, but like maybe barely gets it. Like I think that while Rockets has great leg kicks, I feel like the Poatan leg kicks are on a different level. And I mean like if he struggles here and decides to keep kickboxing and suffering through that again, it might go a long way towards me picking Pereira to beat him in their eventual fight.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like honestly in this fight, if he just stands the whole time, I think that's a 50-50 fight in my opinion. Just their skills. I think power wise, I'd give the edge to Uncle Ive to get the finish, but
Yeah. So obviously, if Uncle Ive wins, it's a title shot. Rakic, you can argue for other guys, but what do you think Alex Pereira is thinking watching this fight? What do you think the King's thinking watching this one?
I don't think he gives a fuck, man. I don't think he cares really who wins this. I don't think that Alex is the kind of guy like to cheer for like the kind of guy to like duck smoke and be like, I want Rockets to win because he's a kickboxer, easier matchup for me. I just don't think that Alex is wired that way. I think that also he just knows that like I sent you guys that fucking Instagram reel the other day, like he traumatizes these guys, man. He hypnotizes them into fighting a stand-up fight. And I mean, so far for the most part, it's worked out for him. The one loss he has is not from someone wrestle fucking him, it's from Izzy knocking him out. So like no one's really tried to wrestle fuck him and stuck with that plan consistently in any of his fights. So I don't really expect it to start here. And Ankalaev, while that is his biggest advantage, I don't even know if he's gonna do it. He's been saying some other shit about how he's gonna knock him out, and I'm just like, sure you could, but like, is that the best path? Like, no, you know.
Definitely. Anything else on this one, guys?
No,
nah,
it should be a banger.
All right, let's
anger.
move on down the card at featherweight. We got number 14, Dan Ige taking on number 12, LaRon Murphy. Minus 290 favorite for LaRon. Both coming off very impressive performances. Ige on like 5 hours notice against Diego Lopez. LaRon Murphy going all the way with Edson Barbosa in a W. This should be a super fun fight. This has fight of the night written all over it. How do you guys think this fight goes?
You can start us off, Nick.
I think it goes very back and forth. I think these are two tough competitors who can definitely scrap in there. I think on the feet it's pretty close, about 50-50. I'd give it. Maybe Murphy a little edge with the kicks. Pretty younger as well, probably has the speed advantage slightly. Wrestling, I'd give that edge to Leroy Murphy. The way he put on Barboza in their fight, he really impressed me. He's definitely looking good on the feet as well. Barboza is a little old, but for a 5 round fight, looked like the cardio was there. Could go for days. Also, like this man's almost died 2 times. Like inspirational stuff here. Undefeated. undefeated in the UFC, and he's fought some tough guys coming up as well. So I'd say probably his toughest test today. Ige's pretty good on the feet, all around good fighter. But I think Murphy edges it out in this one.
Yeah, I agree for the most part. What do you think, Xavier?
How old is Leon Murphy? Like 32 or so?
It's 33.
Okay, 33.
Oh, they're the same age, I think.
Ige's only 33?
What it says.
That's crazy. But like we know that like actual age and MMA age is different. That was my point. Ige's been through some wars, man. He's a veteran of this shit. Had a long career, rattling off wins, taking losses. And I just feel like that, might catch up to him in this fight a little bit. While he looked good in his last fight, stepping in like on like the shortest notice damn near possible. Um, it's like in a fight where like they're mostly gonna strike with each other, I just kind of favor Leron Murphy a little bit, like you said, with the kicks, with the less wornness. I just feel like Leron Murphy on a more upward trajectory career wise than Ige. And I think that that momentum is gonna carry him to a competitive decision here. I think Ige tough, and I don't really see him getting finished unless he gets caught with something crazy. But I would say he's a tough fucker in there. So Leroy Murphy probably 2-1 unanimous decision.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page here. What do you think's at stake in this fight at featherweight?
I mean, it's only number 12 versus number 14. So I mean, both of these guys, win or lose this fight, have a long way to go before getting a title shot. At least like two fights for Leroy Murphy, I would say minimum. Um, but yeah, I would say for Leroy Murphy, he can get himself a nice little top eight ranking opponent if he were to win this fight against Ige. Even though he is even though he is like technically the higher ranked guy, I think that Ige much more of a household name. So like having that name on your that pelt on your resume will like boost him up in the eyes of like more casual fans or like the fans in general who just may be less familiar with him.
Gotcha. Anything else on this one, guys?
No, not really.
That should be a banger. And next up, we got Shara Magomedov versus Armin Petrosian. This is another great fight. This is just a great card. Shara, obviously, all eyes are on him in his striking game. He's looked pretty good recently. Pretty close fight in the odds. Shara minus 170. What are you guys' thoughts on this one?
I'm really personally really excited for this. I love watching Chara fight. I do think that he's a bit like overrated, but like also still a great fighter, if that's possible. I think that he's a lot more vulnerable than most of these Magomedovs. When you hear the name Magomedov, it usually comes with like dominant grappler attached. And he's shaking it up, man. He's a kickboxer. He Denver doesn't want to be on the ground at all, actually. And that's kind of surprising. I think he has solid defensive grappling. He has like I would say like average to slightly above average gas tank. He's not a gas out merchant necessarily, but he definitely does tend to slow down a bit as the fight wears on. Especially if someone can force him to fight in uncomfortable positions or like grapple him a lot. But luckily for him, that's not really the strat of Petrosian, man. I don't think he's gonna be able to bully him in there. Um, I think there's gonna be this one plays out on the feet, nice and entertaining for the fans, and yeah, I can see Shara Bullet etching out a close or unanimous decision. Like I feel like it all just depends on like what Petrosian shows up. If he's game, I think he still loses, but like loses close. But I think that if Shara can beat him up in round one and maybe, you know, take some of the technical ability away from him going forward, then I feel like Chara might have a field day in rounds 2 and 3.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I think Petrosian has a chance though if he can mix in the grappling and the wrestling throughout this fight and slow Shara down. I just don't think he in his strategy does it enough. I think that's naturally he's more of a clinch guy from what I've seen, and then go back to the outside power kicks, which I don't think it will be the best game plan against Shara. I think he just has a big edge on the feet from technique, speed, every single in his arsenal. I'd say he's easily like top 10 kicker right now in the UFC.
Chara?
Yeah,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
yeah. And I think it's bad for Petrosian if he keeps it on the feet. Shara does gas out a little bit as well sometimes, so it would be good for Petrosian to mix up or at least like make him work. You know, you can't just let Shara stick on the outside the whole time blasting kicks, bro.
Facts.
He's just gonna lose.
Yeah. What do you guys think is next for Shar if he wins this one?
I mean, can he only fight like not local at all? He can only fight over there, right?
Is
Like
that what
where
it is?
yeah, I think he can't fight. He can't get sanctioned to fight in any of like
Okay.
the US cards just because like they won't clear his eye. His eyes he's literally blind, you know.
I did
Oh,
not know that.
Only
so wait, only in
only the solids really will let him fight for real.
Damn.
okay,
Okay.
probably
Well,
some gatekeeper. They'll get some gatekeeper.
okay. All right. Let's move on to the prelims. Very weird start time. It's like 9 a.m. Kind of crazy. Give me some
9 a.m.
fights
for
you guys.
us?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 9 a.m. for us.
Oh my goodness. Wait.
Not
The
now.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. But
Oh,
is there anything you guys want to touch on in the prelims of this card? Pretty, it's okay.
I'm not mad at some of these fights. We can touch on like no disrespect to the fighters that like I'm skipping over. It's just like maybe I'm not as familiar with them enough to like have uh a real opinion one way or the other on the fights. But we can go to Geoff Neal versus Dos Anjos. That's a pretty good fight on paper. Dos Anjos, a long time contender, man, a long time, a once lightweight champ, you know what I mean? It's been a long time since then, but he's never really while he's slowed down, and over time age showed his age a little bit, a lot less dominant, but he's still a wily vet, finds crafty ways to win fights that like you wouldn't favor him in. And I've never seen him completely like stymied, like completely. So I mean, I would always say he's live to vet his way, clinch and vet his way to a decision. And then on the other side of the fucking cage, we have fucking Hands of Steel Neil. And we know what the fuck he does, man. He brings heavy pressure, heavy punching power, a lot of aggression, for pressure. So solid takedown defense as well. Coming off a loss to Gary that was like more close than the UFC would like to make it seem, to be honest. Always impressive in there. Before that, it was Shavkat, which, it's Shavkat. Before that, he beat Luque. So it's like he's been fighting killers and he is competitive in there with a lot of them. So I feel like two guys basically cut from the same cloth in this fight. And they're probably similar ages. So great fight.
Definitely. Anything else, guys? We got the legend, Orabai fighting minus
Well,
325 favorite.
I fuck with Warby, man. I fuck with Warby.
Oh yeah.
I fuck with Rebecca too, man. This should be a good fight. I don't know what is this catch weight business? What happened with that?
I do not know actually. It's
Did this
weird.
fight get like added like late as fuck, and they're just like get in there whatever weight you weigh it? Like,
Maybe.
maybe because I didn't even know this fight was on the card until just now when we were doing this. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see Orabai back in the cage, man. I feel like he should be able to get a win here.
He's hype. All right, guys, give me a fight of the night and a performance of the night on the whole card. Official predictions.
Fight of the night, I think it would have to be. I went back and forth on this, but I think fight of the night would have to end up being Max Holloway Ilya. I just don't see the way it doesn't unless it, knock on wood, ends fast. Um, that's not how I see it playing out. I just think that the back and forth nature of it and the fact that they're mostly, I think, going to mix it up on the feet should just make like one of those Connor versus Diaz two kind of scraps. You know what I mean? Where it's just back and forth and the crowd's just hyped. Both fighters having their moments throughout. That's kind of how I just see it playing out. So yeah, I'm gonna guess that that fight wins fight of the night. What
What
about
about
you?
performance?
Performance of the night? Ooh, I could see. It depends, man. It depends. I could see if Hamza goes out there and finishes Whitaker in like some kind of like devastating fashion or like just a nice sub, like a crafty sub. I could see him getting performance bonus just for like the quality of opposition that he beat.
I had the same two. I had the same two.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, I agree on fight of the night. Ilya Max performance. I'm gonna go with Magomed Ankalaev.
Ah, go with Rob.
My thing is,
Magomed.
my thing is like if he performance bonus, like I see him getting that. I thought about it. But like that's if he grapples him. I think because if he doesn't grapple him, I think that the fight will be a little too competitive to give him a performance bonus.
Okay.
I think if it plays out on the feet, unless he knocks him out like pretty easily, which I don't see happening, unless like I see it being competitive until the end. Whereas like if he were to grapple and like look very dominant, I think he can really dominate there, and then he should deserve a performance bonus. If he just like Russell fucked him, beat him up, and then submitted him some kind of way, maybe a round two, round three sub, beat the fuck out of Rockets, dominated, like left no doubt that he's the next title contender. Like I feel like then he would deserve the bonus. So I could see him getting it as well, but. I'm gonna go ahead and guess Chimaev because I already know the kind of aggression that he's gonna come with at least, and I don't really know what Uncle Live's gonna do in there.
Okay.
He's a bit of more of a wild card.
Alrighty. Right. Well, guys, that concludes our 308 preview. Should be a super sick card. We're gonna have plenty of videos coming out next week, reviewing the card and stuff like that. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out the TikTok, and we'll see you guys later.
Peace.
Peace.